I feel like when I first started Fits, I had no clue what a CEO did. I had no clue how business operated. And I really just didn't know like what it took to kind of build product and get the ball rolling. And so I feel like, this presentation is just kind of a summary of a few things that I've learned. And I think that hopefully this can kind of give you guys a head start on, building anything that you would want to in the future. So there's a quote by Steve Jobs that says, "Everything around you that you call life was made up by people who were no smarter than you. And you can change it, you can influence it, you can build your own things that other people use." And after basketball, and since I moved to New York, I didn't really know kind of what I wanted to do or like what my path was. And something that really changed my life was finally taking kind of an idea in my head and putting it out and seeing it for the first time. I feel like with the Create platform, it was the first time I really kind of had an idea and it went straight onto, a website that I could see and feel and touch and see other people use. And ever since that happened, my life changed forever. Like, I don't necessarily want to do anything else other than build products for people. And so it kind of just carries me through every single day at this point. So the first thing that you have to do if you want to start a business is start with the problem. For us, the problem was pretty easily because Robinson was a fashion designer. So Robinson was an emerging fashion designer, and the whole idea of Fits was to kind of solve his problems entering the fashion industry and acquiring the resources needed to release his fashion collections. And so the main kind of three problems that we set out to solve were marketing, finding a consumer base that's out of your current network, manufacturing. It's really hard and costly to manufacture collections, especially as an emerging designer when you don't have, 2 or 3K to put towards collections. And the last thing was finding, a team and resources and other people that can kind of fill in those gaps. If you make clothes, you're not the one shooting the clothes. You're not, necessarily always the one doing the graphic design or the different aspects of it. And so kind of just filling in those necessary gaps to make your collection was the other side of everything that we were trying to solve. And I feel like kind of with everything in every business in the world, it all starts with the problem. If there was never a problem, there's never going to be a business that solves that problem. So this is called the product strategy pyramid, and there's 3 parts to it. There's vision, strategy, and product. And so your vision is your North Star. It's, the end goal, the product that you're trying to create, the vision for the world that you want to change. And your strategy is how you kind of put that into action. So strategy revolves around who are your customers? What's your business model? How do you plan to acquire customers? How do you plan to, how do you plan to execute your vision? And the last part of that is product. And so the product is kind of the end thing that the user sees. It's the end thing that the user deals with. And so, you take your overall big vision, you take the strategy that you have to kind of go and acquire that vision, and then you build a product that solves the problem that you set out to address. So this is called the build, measure, learn feedback loop. I'm going to go through each one and then tell you guys a little bit of a story about how I operated each section of that. So first there's an idea, and then you start building, right? And so you end up building a product. And after you build that product, you have to measure what's going on, see how it's working. You now have data to see how people are using or operating with your product. And then you have to learn from that and find new ideas that you could build upon and keep excelling with. And so our idea in the beginning was to build an app that allows you to create, post, sell, create, post, buy, and sell clothes, right? And so, I and Robinson are not, neither of us are technical, so we don't, program apps. And so in order to start, we had to figure out what the first thing that we could build was. And so what that was ended up being the Runway website, a website that connects fashion designers with buyers. It showcases emerging designers, and it could be a place where people can go shop and buy from these emerging designers, right? So, we had this app idea, obviously, and we couldn't build the app. So one of the aspects of the app was buying and selling clothes. And so we immediately got to building a website that allowed you to buy and sell clothes. I feel like, building that MVP, the minimal viable product, is, the first thing that you have to start doing in order to start figuring out kind of where you're going. And so after that, you finally have your product. I'll go into measuring. So we didn't necessarily do much measuring on the Runway side of things, but Create was a real kind of measure and change type of situation. And so essentially what happened with that was we wanted, people to be able to create clothes at a click of a button in the easiest way possible. I think everything we do is trying to help these emerging designers, and actually filling in those gaps was the most important part. And we didn't necessarily know how or what the Create product was going to be. And so during the summer, all we did was talk to fashion designers, meet with fashion designers, and try to help them with anything that they needed to release their collections. We try to help them with manufacturing. We try to help them, launch their collections by, introducing them to photographers or videographers. And we really just try to, find any type of way to help these designers go from idea all the way to a launch. And in doing that, we realized that we were, introducing fashion designers to graphic designers or to photographers and videographers. And it's kind of a hard thing to do with a lot of designers or with a lot of creatives. And so that kind of gave us the idea to build a platform where a designer can come onto it. They could find graphic designers, find videographers, find photographers, and it's all there on a website in a click of a button. And so that's kind of how we measured the Create side of things, try to learn, and we actually went through and built that product. The last thing is learning. And so, your first idea is never going to be what you end up doing at all. And you're going to have to figure out what is going well in your company and what isn't going well in your company. And so I think the learning aspect of things kind of revolves, for my journey, at least starting, was changing the business model. And so right now we have a marketplace business model. It's similar to that of Amazon or Uber, Airbnb, where, if somebody were to buy clothes on our site, we charge a 5% commission on each sale. For Create, we actually have buyer and seller side commission. So the seller would get charged 5% and the buyers would get charged 10%. And that's kind of the business model that I always thought we would carry on and continue with. And recently, we decided to make a little pivot to our business model and the way that we make money. And we are, we weren't content with some of the problems with the marketplace business model. And that kind of has led us into trying to build a platform cryptocurrency that's going to be able to create a token economy for everything that we're building. And I'll tell you guys about that a whole another day, because that's going to take 30 minutes. But yeah, all in all, you take your idea, you build your MVP. Now you have a product. You have to see how people are using and interacting with that product. Track the data. The data doesn't lie. I can see how many people are accessing the website. I can see how many people are clicking on each type of button. you got to figure out different ways to keep improving your product, and the data will help you do that. And then you got to learn and start redoing this process. And so, no, this is really important. And I think, as, all three of you aren't technical. And so in order to start your businesses and have that jump start, you really got to just start doing all of this yourself. And the best part about it is you're going to learn things along the way that you would have never thought before. Like, I would have never thought we would be building a cryptocurrency for Fitz, but that is the most logical thing to do at this point. And so, in doing all of this yourself, you'll kind of get to a point where you'll understand the business more than anybody else, and you'll be able to kind of make those pivots and be confident in everything that you do. So running a business there's basically three parts of business, in my eyes at least. There is product, operations, and community. Product is what we've been talking about before. What product are you building? What product are your customers using? And is that product providing value to your customers or not? Operations is business, finance, legal, HR. As a CEO, you have to be the one that raises money for your business. You have to be the one setting kind of the financial projections and seeing what your costs are. You have to be the one that incorporates your business and making sure your business is legally sound. And so that's kind of the operations aspect of things. And I feel like, coming into everything I was doing, I thought that's what I would be working on mainly, but it's just a piece to my job as CEO. Mainly, I am working in product. The last part is community. And I said community instead of sales and marketing because it's truly kind of building that community, building that customer base. You can do that in two ways. You can do that through content, which is obviously marketing on social media, or you could do that in person, which is kind of hosting events and gatherings for, different people within your target audience and, just having good experiences that provide value to those people. So really the three things, any person should be doing if they're trying to start or run a business is either working on product, working on operations, or working on building community. I learned kind of three main lessons over the course of the last year and a half. The first thing is launch early and often. And so my biggest regret was not launching earlier. I feel like every business should launch way before the product is done or even starting to build. I think that, the best thing you could do is create a landing page and start advertising on social media before you're even doing anything, just so that people know what you're doing, know what you're building. A landing page is literally just a page that will say, I am, if you want to create clothes, if you're a fashion designer, put your email into this, this add-on. And so kind of the landing page is designed to gather emails and start gathering that customer base and start telling people what your business is before you even launch. I think that, launching is a weird concept because it's something that you're going to do all the time. And so, we launched once before, we're going to launch again in a week, and we are going to launch probably 10 to 30 more times in the next, couple of years. And so launching early and often is just something that you're going to be consistently doing. The next thing is do the work. As an entrepreneur, nobody is going to be telling you what to do. So anytime, anything that you're doing is completely on your own accord. And so, if there is a task that I don't feel like doing, it just won't get done. And so understanding that, it means that, whether the task is very important or, not that important to you at all, you have to get it done, or else no one's coming behind you to do it. The last thing is, this is gonna be a long journey. I was saying the other day to my roommate that, everything that we're building is a 10-year plan. Like, everything that I want this product to be, we literally can't do until, going through the process for the next 10 years. And so understanding that this is a long journey will get you to a point where you'll start falling in love with the process instead of the results. I think the biggest thing that you're going to have as an entrepreneur is, falling in love with that process. Because if you don't like working on this, or you don't fall in love with that process, there's no point in starting your own company or building anything, because you'll never have that dream product for a long time. And it's kind of different than a basketball game where, you play a game, you win or lose at the end of the game, and like that's that, and you play your next game. There's very small wins and there's like long wins. And so it really takes a lot of time to finally start, having some of those longer wins and seeing some of those results. And so you really just have to be consistent and consistently improving every single day. And eventually you'll look up and be like, oh wow, like I created this, or like, oh wow, we built that, And so that'll kind of keep you going along this path. That's all I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about. I think that, entrepreneurship in school is taught horribly. All they teach you about is how not to fail when starting a business, and that is a horrible way of thinking about everything. You have to fail in order to learn. And so if you never start and if you never fail, you'll never learn anything, and you'll never continuously start building. And so I think, when it comes down to products and entrepreneurship, the one thing that I want you guys to know is you genuinely do have an opportunity to build something that can change the world. You can build something that other people are going to use. You can build something that people will use after you aren't here on this earth anymore. I was thinking yesterday when walking to class, I looked down and I'm wearing off-whites, and, Virgil passed away, but his shoes and his clothes will be here forever. And so just understanding that simple fact is very humbling. And if you do want to take that step into entrepreneurship, like that's kind of the best part about all of this. You can build something that other people are going to use, and you can build something that can, change the world and transcend generations.